So, welcome to the Propwash podcast, Mr. LMAB himself.
Hi, nice to be here.
Yeah, it's good. So, we're at the WPC, obviously. Good chance for me to grab hold of all the different anglers and bring them in and get them to tell us a little bit about themselves. So, so for people who don't know, Daniel Andriani, is that pronounced right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. From Zimbabwe. Yeah. Now living in Germany.
Yeah.
And obviously shot to fame with all of the LMAB stuff, but also the Hechtunbarsch.
Yeah, that's right.
So tell us a little bit about what you do. So just intro yourself and tell us, where you sort of, obviously you came from Zimbabwe, when you came to Germany, and what the sort of history behind that was.
Okay, so hi everyone. I grew up in Zimbabwe, so I was born there, grew up there, left when I was 18, actually came over to London, to the UK for a year. Found London to be pretty hectic and busy, and at that time I was a golfer. So it's a very long time ago.
Right.
I played a lot of golf in Zim and I turned professional pretty much when I came over to the UK.
Okay.
And then just by coincidence, I met a guy who became my trainer, my coach. He was living in Germany at the time. So I came over to Germany. I moved over to Berlin. I was like 20 years old. And then I kind of got stuck in Berlin. At some stage I stopped playing golf. I went in a totally different direction, started working in startups, in the startup scene. Worked in a few big startups. Got a lot of experience in sales and marketing in that time. And then as things happen sometimes, it was pretty much a big coincidence. I used to love fishing as a kid. I fished a lot. I grew up fishing a lot with my grandfather, with my brother. Obviously in Zimbabwe it's a good place to go fishing.
Yeah, obviously bass more.
A lot of bass fishing, tiger fishing as well.
Yeah.
So I always loved fishing, and I started just to pretty much improve my German. My German's never been that great. I mean, I speak like fast and I understand everything, but my grammatical, my grammar is really bad, to be honest. So I thought maybe as a project I'll start writing a blog to try and improve my German.
Okay.
And that's how it kind of started right at the beginning. That was in 2013. End of 2012, beginning of 2013, around that time. And then I just kind of noticed, to be honest, there was a lot of interest in fishing. I had no idea about the fishing scene in Germany at that time. I just kind of noticed, hey, I'm posting photos of me going fishing and writing little articles about it. And there's so many people clicking on it on Facebook. In those days, there was pretty much only Facebook as social media. And I thought, hey, maybe there's more to this whole fishing thing than I thought, and I started obviously finding out a bit more. Found out there's a lot of anglers in Germany. It's actually there's millions of people who fish in Germany, and I was pretty surprised. I mean, then to start finding out about how developed the predatory fishing scene was and things like that, and things slowly just kind of steadily started moving after that. We were at that time my brother-in-law, so the husband of my wife's sister. It's my brother-in-law, right?
Yeah.
It's actually, to be honest, a bit strange speaking so much in English for this podcast, because I've actually just recently done our first podcast, which is in German, and I pretty much speak German all the time now. So it's a bit weird that sometimes I even forget the word that I want to say. So it kind of at that time, my brother-in-law had just finished studying, had just done his degree. I spoke to him and convinced him somehow to ignore what he just studied, engineering, and maybe to try and somehow start a business together with me. I wasn't exactly sure where the business would go at that stage, but I just thought there is a lot of interest in fishing and we could do something with this. And he did. He actually started working full-time then pretty much straight away. I was still actually involved in another startup at the time. and things moved from there. I mean, we pretty soon came on the idea to develop a brand, LMAB, which is translated to Leck mich am Barsch in German. Leck mich am Barsch is just like a saying that we made up. That it's a play on words, which basically means kiss my bass. Basically, basically
right.
In German means kiss my bass, and we started selling T-shirts, hoodies, and stuff like that with Leck mich am Barsch, and it's like a lot of people were buying them and really found the saying funny, and somehow we decided to just stick with that, and then we kept with LMAB. We knew LMAB, especially with the vision, obviously, of going international. Probably most people won't know what it means, but that doesn't matter. We thought, hey, there's plenty of other brands where it's just a few letters put together.
Yeah.
You know, so that was the start of LMAB. At the same time, we also started developing an online fishing store, where we obviously started with very few products in the beginning, and thanks to the fact that we were doing YouTube videos at the time, which this is back in 2014, what I'm talking about, 13 we started, 14, 15. So in that time there were very, very few YouTube videos, fishing YouTube videos in Germany at the time. So we weren't pioneers, but we were definitely one of the first to do it.
It's important.
And we did it to a scale where it was really helping a lot with our marketing, and our shop just grew from there. The online store grew larger and larger. I'm happy to say now we're probably the largest, or definitely one of the largest predatory online stores probably in Europe.
So is it physical as well, the store? Can you
No,
visit the store?
people do visit us because people know where we are in Berlin.
Yeah,
so people do come over and see us. But actually the idea is it's to be online. We've got pretty much all the brands. We work with all the major brands anyway, but also a lot of the smaller ones as well in the predatory segment. Our YouTube channel has developed a lot since the early days. At some stage we started a format called the YouTube Predator Cup, which is
obviously very famous, and most recently it's just been filmed in the UK. YPC Bank just finished filming that, so that's going to be amazing that you're sort of expanding that.
So that's a little drop to everyone listening to this podcast. We haven't even really told you guys in the UK that it's coming yet, but now you know, for those of you who've managed to tune into this podcast. We've just finished filming it, as Matt says, YPC Bank UK. It's going to be shown in the UK. It's only with English or British anglers, and it's going to be a really exciting tournament. There's going to be a lot of anglers that I'm sure a lot of you will know. There's some famous tournament anglers in there, people like, for example, Tom Hunt or Kevin Cox. There's also like DB Fishing or the Ginger Fisherman. So there's also some famous YouTubers that are also fishing in there.
AD Woodchucker was in there, CWC.
That's right. Dan Brackley is there, the Rapala man. So that's something for you guys definitely to look forward to. It's a new format.
So when will that be edited and released? When are you aiming to release
We've just started editing, and the first episode is going to be released at the end of October.
Okay, nice.
And there'll be one episode every week with a final coming on Christmas Day.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, jumping back, obviously, we've sort of got... When you obviously started doing LMAB lures, how did that work? Did you have a set format? Because they're really cool, the LMAB stuff. There's some real twists on there, the really realistic looking, fins and the Kofi shads and the way that it swims, that really slim wrist on the tail, the drunk bait. There's a lot. So where did all of that inspiration come from?
So thank you firstly that you like the stuff. We started with a drunk bait. When we started, we really wanted to create some soft bait which was just different to everything else, which is not easy with a soft bait. As you know, there's thousands of different kinds of soft baits out there.
Thousands of copies of everything.
Yeah. So we just decided to go with something pretty different. Honestly, in my honest opinion, I find the drunk bait relatively ugly in terms of its like form, to be honest.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Looks pretty weird.
Yeah, it looks weird.
Looks like a popper, but a soft plastic pot
That's
bait.
right, that's right. I mean, when it's got a round jig head on the front of it, then it definitely starts looking aesthetically a bit nicer.
Yeah.
Which was one of the ideas we had, is that we thought that's the way to kind of like use it, is with a round jig head. But what I must say about the drunk bait, what's really cool is it's got a very, very high action. It rolls also, and it literally makes a different movement to almost all the other soft baits out there.
And I think that's important. I was having this conversation with Chris Zaldane, and we were talking about the fact that people throw things, and the example I used was Vision 110s. Everybody knows that bait, so everybody's throwing it, but the fish actually learn and wise up to seeing that.
I think so as well.
So when you can throw something different, like a drunk bait, in there, you get the reaction.
That's it, yeah.
And it's important. So it's the same with all of yours. What's the really slim one, like the bleak?
We've got the finesse filet, which is the very, very thin
that one. But I meant the one that's like
the bleak shad.
I think it's the bleak shad.
Yeah.
That's got a really nice profile to it.
Yes,
So.
also. I mean, we've tried to make very different stuff. So like the drunk bait, and obviously the curfew is extremely realistic. Was the idea with that. Bleak shads are like a thinner kind of. They're more of a bait that a lot of people like to use for zander, for example.
Yeah.
And
I like it in that brown with the yellow belly.
Yes,
That's my favourite colour for the zander.
Yes, the ayu. It's a very good colour. So we started with the baits. I mean, for us, it was always the marketing side of things was always important. So we went with drunk bait, and that caused like a bit of, or it gave us a lot of things we could like use from the marketing side, and then basically from there, we kind of tried to develop the portfolio. Obviously, at some stage, Enrico de Ventura came to us. He was
with Weston, wasn't he?
Before he was with Weston as country manager for Germany at Weston.
Yeah.
A very good fisherman, very successful fisherman, and somebody who also really knows a lot about products and had a lot of ideas about products that he wanted to bring into this world, let's say. So he came in. He's been doing our product design since he's there. And we've brought in a lot more products since then. We've got a whole like tungsten range. We've got a terminal tackle range, bags. We've now recently just released a large range of the Rodfather from our Rodfather rods.
Because was it Mesquite?
La Moustique, yeah.
La Moustique, yeah, because they were the really sensitive rods. I've seen those.
Yes, in French it's the Mosquito. Very, very sensitive rods. Actually, the range has now become bigger. It was only ultralight to start with. It's now, the range is becoming larger and larger. They're a very, very, how do you say? Value for money rod. They're very inexpensive, the rods.
Yeah, they're at a good price point.
That's it. And so we're just kind of like expanding the portfolio. For us, it's important to have LMAB as an international brand. We're very, very present now in France. We're in like over 200 stores in France, and our brand is well recognized and doing really well there. We're becoming more and more well known in the UK. Yeah,
definitely. You recently did all the sponsorship for Zandermania.
That's right.
And there's some amazing prize bags down there, and I think I saw something on Instagram about one of the guys, he caught a PB Zander on one of his baits that was in the goodie bag.
That's right. It's really cool. We've actually had a few photos now coming from the UK of people that have caught PBs on the baits that they received at the Zandermania.
And that's good. You're sort of giving those away, but it's giving exposure. It's doing exactly what it needs to do from a marketing perspective. You're giving those baits away, but it's introducing those people to them, and they're naturally going to use it.
Our philosophy is generally we want people to get to know our stuff, and not only our stuff. Honestly, we work extremely closely with a lot of brands for our shop Hechtunbarsch. Like I said, with almost all the major brands, we really have close partnerships with them. We promote them strongly as well. We see it as there's enough of a market for everybody to be out there and be successful, and working together generally helps to just grow fishing as a sport. And this has always been one of our major like focuses from the beginning. Try and grow the predatory fishing generally, and that there's more people doing this predatory fishing, understanding what a cool kind of way of life it can be, and the more people that do it, then the better it is for the anglers and for all the brands working in the angling industry.
So what I know, barsch is like perch. Yeah?
Yes.
So what is Hechton? What is that?
Hecht is pike.
Hecht. So
Yes.
pike and perch. That's
Pike
the
and
name
perch.
of the shop.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Okay. No, that just makes a bit more
Kind
sense.
of limits it with the zander
Yeah,
and all
no,
of the
I-
other kinds
yeah,
of fish in
yeah, I get it.
in Europe. I mean, we for example, we do YPC bass, which
Yeah, that is an epic program. That is, I don't know why, but I don't know when was the first one of the YPC bass released.
the first one released was the year before last.
Yeah, because I was watching that, and obviously yourself and Enrico were fishing it, and you were fishing that blade and absolutely killing it.
Yeah.
Because again, those fish had not seen.
Correct.
So again, that's going back to exactly what I was saying with Chris, and exactly what I was saying to you before. They see something different, new products. People think, oh, I've got enough lures. Yeah, you might have enough lures, but you won't have this lure, and this lure makes this action and displaces the water in this way.
Yes.
And it's just different, and the fish will hit it.
That's
and
it.
that, you were literally, it was unreal. It was like a two-man show, that first one.
Yeah, it was
You were
really
like,
crazy,
I was
yeah.
watching it like Lucas from Molex. He was there, and they're brilliant anglers, and obviously Mark Petrovsky and
Yeah.
all of these people, but Enrico on that blade, and yourself, you were both.
Yeah,
just,
sometimes it's just you need to just exactly as you say. The fish sometimes just want to see something different.
but that show, I don't know why, I was sitting down, I was watching it, and I think I got very obsessed with Christian Bierth's boat.
Yeah, well, it's easy to get obsessed with that.
So
boat.
that was, I was like looking at that, and I was like, I've got to change my boat.
In fact,
I've
this
got
year in the YPC, the one which just got shown at the beginning of this year, Enrico got sick, had corona just before it started.
Okay.
So Chris jumped in. So I fished
I
with Chris
wondered
together.
why, because I saw him with the LMAB shirt. I thought, oh, that's a bit of a sponsorship jump.
So I fished with Chris
Yeah,
together
yeah,
from his
yeah,
boat
yeah.
then, and yeah,
is a machine.
he's got a machine. Yeah, it's I mean, anyway, the Nitro boat's a really nice boat.
Yeah, so that did cost me a lot of money, because off the back of that, I literally went out and I ordered a new boat.
Yeah, wow.
So,
yeah,
yeah, and that was just through watching that.
Yeah,
I don't
you
know what it
see?
was. I just had to be part of it in some way.
Yeah,
so
cool.
it went and blew quite a few quid on a new boat. But there we go. But yeah, that's a really nice Lake Bazine. That's such
Amazing.
a nice place. And is it a good place to take the family as
for
well?
sure. Really a beautiful place to go with a family. There's great restaurants. There's lots of stuff to do with the kids. Lots of sightseeing things to do. A beautiful lake, obviously, and it's really a place you can go with a family. The family can have a good time, and you can also go out and catch a few
And so
fish.
what you do, tend to go out early morning and late evening.
Yeah, especially if you're going to go there in the
family
summer.
time in the
If
day.
you're going to go in the summer, like have a nice summer holiday with the
Yeah.
family there. It's anyway too hot to fish during the day.
Yeah.
You go fishing really early, and then late in the evening you'll catch your fish, have a great time, and still the family as well.
I think that was how I sold it to the wife. I said, look, we can go here. You know, I can.
You
go
really
out
can. It's really one of those places that you really can do that. Yeah.
So yeah, I can't wait to do that. So let's flick it right back. So when you were in Zim, what was the first fish you ever caught? Describe the sort of, were you with your dad, were you with your granddad? What were you doing? Was it with a lure? Was it with bait? What was the water that you were fishing? What was the kit you were fishing?
I'm not, to be honest, I'm not 100,000% sure if it really was my first fish, but my first memory of catching a fish was definitely on a trip with my grandfather, and we were fishing on a lake, fishing for bass. And I remember, and I was using like a kind of a Senko worm, so a plastic worm, and I remember the fish bit, and I still remember it was a big fish. I was small. I was probably about 5 or 6 years old.
Is this from the boat or the bank?
From the bank.
Okay, from the bank.
So I'm on the bank, and I had a big fish on, and I still remember I started walking backwards. I don't know why I didn't reel, but I just remember I was walking further and further backwards, so that the fish was obviously getting closer to the shore. And I remember, and because my grandpa was a bit further away, and at some stage my grandpa got close to me and he would say, "Reel." But I remember when the fish did get landed, as my grandpa got it in the net, I remember I was far away. I was far away down the bank with the rod.
Yeah.
So I remember that was how I pulled in. I didn't reel in my first fish. I pulled it in. But I was so fixed from that moment. I mean, I so loved it, going out and fishing and the feeling of catching the fish, and and also being out there with my grandpa, having a good time.
It's those
just
memories.
being in the nature, and that I just couldn't wait to go on the next fishing trips. Always, I mean, it was something
So
I always
obviously
loved.
it dropped off for a little while with you getting your love of golf and that. And then did you get back into it when you got
To be
into
honest,
Germany?
even the whole time I was playing golf, like in Zim, I actually had a small little boat that I got when I was like 13 or 14, like a really old small boat with an old engine on it. But I was fishing like a lot, even in my golfing times. The school was more the part which had to take a back step.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, something
Yeah,
has to
we've all
take a
been
back
there.
step. So the fishing and the golf actually were pretty much in the front. And then I took a back step more when I moved to Europe. So
Okay.
I remember I got to England. Finally, I actually have a funny story. I remember that when I was in London for that short time, one of my friends was studying at the university there in London. I don't even remember what it was called, the University of London. And I remember I went there and she was studying there. And I saw there was like not a pond, like a small dam, let's say, on the university grounds.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, that looks pretty good. And so I actually went and got myself a little rod, a cheap rod. I bought one and a spinner. I remember, and I remember I've had a few casts, and it didn't take long, and I caught a small pike.
Okay.
And I remember then when I reeled it in, I'd actually, to be honest, I'd never ever seen a pike before. It was the first pike I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
And I remember I reeled it in. First I tried to like get the spinner, and straight away I cut my finger. I realized that the thing's got a lot of teeth.
Yeah.
And then I didn't really know what to do, because a lot of the students at the university had all come around me to start looking at what's going on, because I caught this pike. And I didn't have a pliers, or I was totally unprepared.
Yeah, yeah.
But I somehow managed with a stick, like with a stick, and
sort
managed
of push the treble back down.
That's it. So I managed to get it off with a stick and release it. Everyone was clapping and whatever, I remember. But yeah, that was a funny little story from I think probably my only time fishing in the UK at that stage. And
nice little jack pike.
Got a little jack pike, yeah. A big. I've realised pikes have a lot of teeth after that.
Yeah. So you then obviously transitioned, went over to Germany. How did you get into your fishing in Germany? What was your first German fish?
My first German fish was a zander.
Okay.
I actually, when I was a golf trainer, it was at the end of after I finished playing, I started to train a little bit first. Before I went to the startup, I was a trainer for a while, and I had a student who told me that you can fish in Germany. So okay, wow, I really love fishing, and I know that. And he took me zander fishing.
Okay, from the boat.
Firstly from the shore, and then we also went a couple of times from the boat, and then I also caught a few pike with him. He basically explained a lot to me about fishing generally. So
Germany. What was that first zander hit like?
That was also really cool. I remember, because the first time I went with him, it didn't work. We didn't catch one, and then I went out a couple of days later on a river where I was living, very close to where I was living in Berlin. And I remember I got there and there was a guy fishing there with like a feeder rod, something there, and he saw me arriving with and I had a pretty big lure on, like it was probably like maybe 14 centimeters, soft bait. And he kind of almost laughed and said, "You're not going to catch anything with that. There's not the right fish in there." So okay, well, that's all I've got with me. So I had a few casts, and I still remember. Then I caught a zander.
And was it that classic zander take? Was it that proper?
It was a proper boom, and then I reeled it in. And I actually wasn't even sure that was a zander, because I hadn't actually seen this guy Frank, who was I hadn't caught one with him yet. So when I saw this fish, and this other guy was freaking out and was saying, "Wow, what a fish!"
How big was it?
Roughly? It was probably 55. Maybe about that size. Yeah. So a decent zander. Yeah. One that certainly that guy who was sitting there on the feeder never ever in a million years thought was going to come out of that river. And then he was looking at it, and then he was even more surprised when I let it go, because I looked at it and I let it go. And he was freaking out, "That's a delicious fish, and you can't let the fish go." Yeah. So that was my very first zander, I remember. It was also a really, really cool feeling. But to be honest, for me, the most exciting fishing, apart from bass, which I love the most, in Europe, but from the fishing that we normally do here, I love fishing for perch the most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you find them pretty close to bass?
As the closest. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
There's obviously some things that are different, but there's a lot of similarities. Almost all of the techniques that work for bass work for perch.
Yeah.
You can almost use the same stuff. and a lot of finesse fishing, and generally I really love the perch fishing.
Yeah. So that was your sort of intro into the fishing in Germany and that, and you've started the tackle shop, which has been really successful. And then you said you did bits in the YouTube side of things. So how did it develop to where it's at now, where you're literally at that sort of Canal Gratis standard now? How did it flip, and how did you get into that? Because you obviously had to hire editors and cameramen.
Yeah.
And what was the inspiration?
Like,
for that?
often it's a process, like, you know, lots of things which you somehow think maybe are a little bit lucky, obviously, along the way, and good decisions and all sorts. I mean, we decided at some stage with the YouTube Predator Cup. Then we went out and we got a lot of famous YouTubers at that stage in the fishing industry who all were prepared to take part in this YouTube Predator Cup. And at that stage, we weren't a huge channel. We were okay. I think we had maybe like 15 to 20,000 subscribers, somewhere around that.
Yeah.
So that we had got just from like our fun, entertaining
And where
shows.
are you at now?
Now we're 100,000.
Okay.
But honestly, our subscriber base does not reflect often our views. So like YPC Boat and YPC Bank often get 200,000 views, which is really cool. So we get a lot more views than subscribers, which is often it's the other way around. So I don't know how it. I mean, I do know how it was. Like I said, it was a kind of a development with these YouTube Predator Cups. It hit kind of the tone of what the people wanted to see.
Yeah.
We developed where our tournaments were being shown were different to Canal Gratis. We have different rules and a different kind of a whole different setup to the whole thing. And this YPC, then we developed the different formats. We started with the bank, added the boat, and now we also have the bass. So we have and now we also have the YPC UK.
And I think one of the things that resonates with people on YouTube more than that is the fact that nothing is being hidden. So the spots aren't being hidden. You get to know what the bait was. You're seeing exactly everything, and it's a true representation. So many sort of people, certainly in the UK, need to hide their spots because there's not lots of spots where you can catch. And I think that sort of honest approach, and people are seeing it all, you know, the lot, you know, the good, the bad, the ugly. They're seeing everything.
For sure.
And I think that's quite refreshing for people because they can then replicate that themselves.
Yes. For sure.
Which is nice.
And I mean, the most viewed is obviously the bank, because that's what the most people can also do.
Yeah,
and the most people can relate to that.
Yep.
And so it's cool to see that it's inspired a lot of people to go fishing. We see a lot of people coming to Holland also to go fishing on the spots. And in the end, it doesn't matter. In the end, it's more important to get people out there and fishing and to show them that there's no easy way or there's no guaranteed ways. Often in the YPC you also see really, really good anglers, people who are fishing all the time, also having a day where they catch no fish, and that's kind of the realness of the whole show.
So now, how's LMAB structured? You've obviously got a lot of wings to that. You've got obviously Hechtunbarsch, you've got the filming side of it. How many people are you employing now?
It's grown a lot. We've got I think 39 full-time employees. Yeah.
And how's that sort of split? Some are in the shop.
We've got like in the editing, like filming and editing department. We have 7 full-time camera guys and editors who are only work full-time in the office the whole time, basically either filming or cutting. Then we have the warehouse section where we've got, I think, 9 full-time staff, which are basically only packaging and stocking the shelves and that kind of thing in the warehouse. And then we have a marketing department, which is probably 4 or 5 people. Then we have another thing called lure drop, which is like
I've seen that. Like the parachute with the lure underneath.
Yes,
that's like a sort of mystery tackle box.
That's right. That's right. So it's a subscription box of new stuff, and there we also put a lot of effort into it. I mean, it's the difference between our box and let's say almost any other box in Europe, for example, is our stuff is not products which are coming to an end of their shelf life. We only have very, very new products, often products which are not even on the market yet.
Yeah.
Exclusive colors, exclusive products.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of work which goes into. There's also a couple of people who are involved only in that project, and so there's a few things to do. We've actually recently also taken over a fishing school, an online fishing school.
Okay.
In Germany, you need to do your license, which is different to the UK. You need to do you actually need to do
fish handling or
fish handling. A lot of rules about how to look after the fish, what you should do, environmental laws. So you have like a written
almost
test.
like in the in America they do like hunting licenses.
Yes.
And you have to sit an exam or an online exam. And sometimes you have to actually attend a field day as well.
Yes.
In the UK, one of the guys that I'm very good friends with, Mike Slater, he does a lot of like pike handling days. And some of the waters, for exactly the reason you described at that university complex, he makes sure that people know what tools they need, how to handle the fish, and they do proper unhooking. So now they used to use actual pike, but now I think they've got some sort of dummies and that because they had issues. But it's a really good idea, I think.
That's law in Germany. So we're also actually doing that now as well. So we've got a lot of different aspects, obviously, to the
laws.
company.
I remember fishing in Rügen, and theoretically, you're meant to take all of the pike that you catch.
They've got a lot of strange laws in Germany.
Yeah, you're not allowed to. And is it not another rule? You can't anchor. Like you can't use spot lock in some places.
Like in Rügen, for example, like there you can't use an electric motor theoretically. So that's why you can't use an anchor with spot lock. You have to use an anchor with a rope.
Yeah,
but you can't use one with a spot lock. It's very they've got very strange laws in Germany.
And so it's stuff about fish finders as well. You're not allowed to use fish finders in certain areas.
Don't start testing me on the rules.
No,
it's not.
I thought you had a school.
I'm not the teacher.
Yeah, there is some crazy rules in Germany.
There's a lot of crazy laws.
Yeah. So
that's why a lot of the Germans come over to Holland to fish.
Yeah.
To be honest.
It's full of them. Yeah. A lot of German.
Also, one of the reasons why we have all of our tournaments in Holland or in other countries, we can't physically film our tournaments in Germany.
Okay.
You're not allowed to have a fishing tournament in Germany. You're not allowed to release the fish in Germany. There's many laws that.
It makes more sense now seeing why this water gets so much pressure, but. I think there's a lot of investment going back into this water, like with the pontoons.
For sure.
They've put in. That's
they just built a new slip area by the water.
Because you've got the banana one, and now we've got the one up at Stellendale. So, that's good. So, what's for the future? You've obviously just done YPC Bank UK. What exciting insights can you give us? Where are you seeing LMAB Hechtunbarsch going?
There's a lot still to do, obviously. I mean, our portfolio is going to continue to develop in terms of LMAB products. There's a lot to look forward to. There's a lot of new products coming out already this year that have been planned. So look out in like September, October. There'll be a lot of new stuff from LMAB. In terms of the YPC formats, obviously we're going to continue to develop the shows. Our YPC Bass this year is going to be filmed in a totally new location.
Cool.
Another new country. Our YPC Bank, the finalists are going to be in a completely new location in a new country where none of the anglers have ever fished before. The YPC boat is going to be slightly larger this year. We're going to have the first UK angler in the YPC boat this year. So you guys can maybe guess who that person will be. There's going to be, or I'd love there to be another thing coming in the next couple of years which should really shake up the tournament scene generally inside of Europe. So got big plans for that. Let's see what we can do and what we can make happen.
You're going to make something this sort of size?
I don't want to say too much, but I think something like the WPC is amazing, like what we're fishing in at the moment. What I honestly really think would be even more amazing is for it to be pan-European, so to be across the whole of Europe, something that would be more
like do different legs.
That's what I think would be the
like sort of almost a US Open.
Yeah, it's like a little bit like MLF or something like that in America.
I'll be down for that.
Difficult to get it all started, but in talks with lots of different people, you need lots of different partners, lots of people to help with such a project. I can imagine for European fishing, what we need is at some stage a European fishing league with really different legs in different countries, the whole media side of things. We need to have a camera guy on every single boat. There's a lot of things that we can do in the fishing scene and the fishing industry. I'd love to see the predatory fishing industry in the UK continue to grow.
Me too.
And I know that it is the fastest growing industry within angling in the UK. I know carp is of course by far the biggest part, but that stopped growing, and predatory is growing a lot, and let's hope that continues.
I think that's important for all of us.
It's something that something you guys can do quickly, something you can go out for 3-4 hours onto the bank, have a few casts, walk around. It's also a bit sporty, doing something for the health, and you don't need days and days and going and sitting in a tent, which of course can also be nice, but there's also lots of advantages to predatory fishing.
With the predatory fishing, you can put your rod and your bag in the truck, finish work, quick hour down the canal, and you just get your fix, don't you?
Yeah.
So literally you get your fix.
Yeah.
So that's what's quite important. But it's all pretty cool, all interesting.
Yeah, lots of things that can happen. I mean, it's how it is. It's
always evolving.
Always evolving. You have to keep your eyes on the ball. Keep evolving yourself, and keep our firm and our company needs to continue to move with the times, and we hope that we'll manage to do that. We hope that LMAB, Hechtunbarsch will still be relevant in another 10 and 20 years.
One thing I was quite impressed with when I've seen some of your packages that you've sent across to certainly some of my sponsors is your demographics on how you've got how many viewers, the age range of the viewers, all of that.
Yes.
Is that one person's job to capture all of that? Is that quite easy to find, or is it quite hard?
I mean, obviously, the more you kind of professionalize the company, it's the better tracking you want to have on different KPIs, different numbers, different things. So we have at least 2 people actually in the company that are basically monitoring, tracking, and helping to analyze all of the different numbers in order for us to improve. And we share those numbers obviously with all of our partners in order for them to see what they're getting for their money in terms of sponsoring, advertising, and those kind of things.
Nice. So you're fishing the event with Enrico, I presume?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
How was practice?
Practice was absolutely crap. We only had one day, to be honest. Enrico came here on the Wednesday, but I had to do a whole lot of work with filming things, didn't really train. We trained the first day on Sunday together. It was so windy on Sunday, we literally only went on a tiny little part of one of the 2 lakes which we can fish. The Monday we didn't go out at all, it was so windy. So our training wasn't good. We still, in those few hours we went out, managed to catch a few perch, and now I heard actually from a lot of people they were struggling to catch perch. So maybe that's a good sign.
Has been. But I think we practiced, we did a week. We've gone around the whole lake and sort of picked it apart, different bits on different days and tried everything. But I think with this wind,
it's going to change up everything.
Completely fresh start now.
So thank goodness, that's exactly what I'm hoping for. Is that hopefully
I'm not so pleased. So I had my game plan done. I was here, then here, then here, then run to here, get this here, go here, go here.
Yeah.
But now I think it's I don't that wind out there. I don't even know if there'll be weed left where there was weed.
It's crazy. I mean, it's blowing an absolute hurricane out there. It was 80, 90 kilometers earlier today per hour, the winds. So it's going to change up everything. That's why, honestly, I mean, Enrico and I, at least we know a lot of spots. We fish these waters a lot now. So you know how it is in these tournaments. You need a bit of luck. You need the fish to be biting when you get there. All of the guys who are fishing can fish. Everyone has quite a bit of experience at fishing. Everyone's got really nice boats. Everyone's got good technology. Almost everyone knows a lot of good spots. In the end, you need that little quenching of luck that the fish also bite.
Yeah, I think that is very important. So, been on here about 45 minutes, so let's start closing it out. What one piece of fishing equipment could you not go out without? can be anything. But what is a must-have for you in your box, whether it's a lure, whether it's a piece of equipment, whatever it is? What can you not go on the water without?
I'll name two things.
Go on.
There's two things. One would be flavouring.
Okay.
I always have to have flavouring.
Okay, you're big on your scents.
I
Okay.
really.
And what would that be?
The good thing is, for those of you who are listening, LMAB are going to be bringing out some very cool flavours at the end of this year.
Okay.
But I'll do some advertising also for LX.
Okay.
I use the Nitro Booster.
Yeah.
Find
Which one?
Different ones. I like the worm.
Okay.
I like the squid. I like the... Normally I use those two. So I like either like a really fishy kind of a flavour.
Yeah.
And the worm I also find works really well. So that I'll always have with me. And the second thing I always would have with me, it's a tool that I bought years ago from Japan. I don't even know exactly the name of the tool, but it's a small little tool that folds out, and it's used to tie the FG knot.
Okay.
So it's got it's got three clips on the three little clips
I've
on it.
seen one of these.
So
I've seen one.
It always holds your line at strain, so it's all nice and tight. And when you use this little tool, you basically have your hand completely free, and you can easily tie an FG knot. And so that tool is for me crucial, because otherwise you got to how to tie it somewhere, hold it in your mouth, and I hate doing it.
Got you.
And it's windy, and so to make a nice clean FG knot, I love to have that little tool. And I'm sure if you Google it, you'll find out exactly what I mean. It's it's an FG knot tool. They're only available in Japan.
You don't sell them in your shop?
I can't. We've been trying for years. They're available in Japan, and they don't want to sell to us. It's only available in Japan, this tool.
JDM quality.
Yeah.
Right, well, thanks for watching, guys. I'm going to leave Daniel to close it out and do the usual, do this, do that, because I'm hoping that you'll listen to him more than you listen to me. I want to expand my viewers and obviously grow my channel so that we can bring you more content and more people like Daniel jumping on the podcast, the Propwash podcast, but also we'll be able to put this up on YouTube as well. So,
Matt, thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for the invitation. Guys, I hope you enjoyed it, and girls, I hope you all enjoyed it, and thanks for listening as well. If you haven't, just remember to subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, remember to push that little bell so you always get notified when the next thing's coming out. On the Spotify, if you're on Spotify or whichever platform you're using to listen to the podcast, remember, please push the subscription button. And of course, if you're feeling nice and generous, leave us a nice comment there as well. Take it easy, guys.
thank you.
Thank you.
Top man. Appreciate that.
Ciao, ciao.